All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tear apart the tech hidden inside something you probably use every single day, your credit card.
So what on earth does a Cold War spy bug have to do with your credit card? Well, you might be shocked to find out that the whole tap-to-pay thing in your wallet, its story actually starts with top-secret spy games.
Yeah, the answer is a surprising amount. So let's get right into this crazy secret history.
Okay, so our story kicks off not in some high-tech lab or a bank, but believe it or not, in the U.S. Ambassador's office in Moscow, all the way back in 1945.
Get this, a group of Soviet school children gives this beautiful, carved plaque of the U.S. Great Seal to the ambassador. A really nice gesture, right? Well, hidden inside was this absolutely revolutionary listening device. And the craziest part? It sat there completely undetected for 7 years.
So what made this bug, which they nicknamed the Thing, so special? It was the tech. This was a totally passive bug. That means no battery, no internal power source, which made it almost impossible to find. And here's a fun little twist for you. It was created by Leon Theremin. Yep, the exact same guy who invented that spooky-sounding electronic musical instrument, the theremin.
The way it worked was just genius. Soviet agents would just park a van nearby and shoot radio waves at the plaque. Inside the bug, a tiny little diaphragm would vibrate with any conversation happening in the room. And that vibration? It would change the radio signal that bounced back. So they were basically piggybacking the secret conversations onto their own radio wave. It was like a little radio tuning fork.
So while the CIA is secretly trying to figure out how this incredible spy tech works, the American economy back home is just booming after the war. And that boom was creating a totally different kind of problem.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because you've got these two completely separate worlds, spies and bankers, both wrestling with the exact same problems, speed and security. The CIA needed a better way to check IDs that wasn't slow and easy to fake, and the banks? They needed a better way to handle payments that wasn't slow and full of fraud.
You know those first credit cards like the Bank America card were a real headache. I mean, merchants had to use those clunky machines to make a physical carbon copy of the card's numbers, then mail the paper slip to the bank, and then just wait to get paid. And all that waiting meant fraud was everywhere. We're talking the equivalent of $1 billion a year in losses by the late 60s.
So the first big leap forward in payment tech, it wasn't even for banks. Nope, it came from trying to solve the CIA's ID card problem.
There's this IBM engineer, Forrest Perry, and he's totally stuck. The CIA wants him to figure out how to stick magnetic tape to plastic ID cards. He's getting frustrated, goes home, and is talking to his wife about it while she's ironing. And she just says, "Why don't you just iron it on?" And it worked. The idea literally stuck. So yeah, the magnetic stripe that changed everything for decades, it was born from a household chore.
And it was so simple, really. The magnetic stripe just stores your card info as a bunch of ones and zeros, kind of like a tiny little cassette tape. But man, it completely revolutionized payments. Suddenly, transactions took seconds instead of days, and banks could spot weird activity almost instantly.
But of course, all that new speed came with a massive security hole. And you can bet criminals were ready and waiting to take advantage of it. See, here's the problem. The information on that magnetic stripe, it's static. It never, ever changes. It's the same every single time you swipe your card. And that means it's super easy to copy or skim and then use it over and over. Just listen to this former fraudster, Tony Sales. He says it was so ridiculously easy that he was pulling in thousands of card numbers a week.
And we're not talking about a small problem. By the early 2000s, just in the UK, this kind of fraud was costing people over £400 million every single year. Clearly, something had to be done.
The banks were in a full-on arms race against the fraudsters. They needed a new weapon, and that weapon turned out to be that little computer chip that's now embedded in pretty much every card you own.
Okay, so the key thing to understand here is the difference between static and dynamic data. The old mag stripe, static. Same info every time. The EMV chip, though, that's dynamic. It's like a tiny little computer that creates a brand new, one-time use code for every single purchase. That makes it incredibly hard to clone.
So how does it work? Well, when you dip your card, the payment machine gives the chip the details of what you're buying. The chip then uses a secret key, a key that only it and your bank know, to encrypt that info into a totally unique code. That code gets sent to the bank uses its matching key to do the same math, and if the codes match, boom, transaction approved.
The best part? That secret key itself never actually gets sent anywhere, which is what makes it so secure.
But all this amazing security had a downside. It was slow. That whole dip your card and wait thing felt like it took forever compared to a quick swipe. In fact, somebody estimated that all that waiting added up to over 116 million hours of wasted time for American consumers every year. Ouch.
So, the world needed something that had the security of the chip, but the speed of the swipe. And this is where our two stories, the Cold War spies and the everyday bankers, finally crash into each other.
Okay, let's track this. After the CIA figured out the thing, they started working on powered versions of that tech. This eventually grew into what we now call RFID tags, radio frequency identification. All of that spy work on remotely identifying things and sending power through the air, it laid the perfect groundwork for the near-field communication, or NFC tech, that lets you tap to pay today. And right there in your wallet is the direct descendant of that old Soviet spy bug. I mean, think about it. Just like the thing, your contactless card has no battery. When you hold it near the reader, a magnetic field from the machine itself powers up the chip. It's the exact same principle. This is what makes tap to pay possible, giving us the best of both worlds, the chip's security at almost instant speed. So what can you do to stay safe? Well, the tech is really secure. You hear about digital pickpocketing, but the range is so tiny, just a few centimeters, that it's super hard to pull off. The most important thing you can do, honestly, is just turn on transaction notifications in your banking app. That way you know instantly if something's wrong. And if you want the absolute best security, use a mobile wallet on your phone, because that keeps your actual card numbers completely hidden.
So we've gone from a secret passive spy bug hidden inside a gift to a literal supercomputer in your pocket that can pay for things wirelessly. The evolution is just mind-blowing. This constant battle between making things easy and making things safe has led to some incredible breakthroughs. But it definitely makes you wonder, right? What's coming next? And what new problems are we creating with all this convenience?